subscribe, or I'm going to make sure you DC from every single game you play and earn no points and drop down to negative 1,000 in X rank. Alrighty, what is quacking, everyone? Today I found something on Twitter and I looked at it and I was like, why is this a thing? So I saw this poll that a fellow streamer did where they put on bring back Armor, Stingray, or both. And I'm like, wow, neither, because both of them were absolutely terrible for the health of the game. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And I know people like to troll about it because a lot of people are self-aware that, hey, Stingray and Armor were the most unhealthiest specials in Splatoon 2. They were bad, but other people have some copium. There's people who are like, well, because of the state of the game, because of Crab, we need Armor or Stingray. No, we don't. No, we don't. We already have counters for Crab. We don't need two broken specials that will absolutely make Crab look so balanced in your eyes compared to these new specials, even though Crab's already balanced in a very healthy spot. But people just had that copium. They're like, how Armor would work because there's Killer Whale 5.1 and so I'm just going to talk about why these two specials coming back would be absolutely detrimental to the game and make the game not fun anymore and just be like, wow, man, why don't I just go back and play Splatoon 2? So let me get into it. So the meta for Splatoon 2 was pretty set in stone by the time I got into the game. It was a pretty set meta. It was basically K-Shot, K-Gal, and Zap, and then your choice of Stingray weapons, mostly Jet, and it was just all shooters. Shooters dominated the meta, unlike in Splatoon 3 where, yeah, there are shooters in the meta, but you have a lot of other non-shooters in the meta, like Buckets, like Ballpoint. You can use Wiper in the meta if you so feel like it. Backlines feel a little bit more viable, so you have Splatwings other than Ballpoint as well. So the meta is pretty diverse in Splatoon 3 compared to Splatoon 2, where if you basically ran anything else, you were kind of throwing. If you wanted to climb super high in X rank, well, you better bust out that K-Gal, you better bust out that N-Zap, and the people who didn't need to use those weapons were far beyond leagues of anyone else. They were just like, well, I'm gonna climb with like a non-meta weapon. I can get to 2500 with Arrow Spray easy. So there was people like that, but you basically just had your general meta of K-Gal, N-Zap, K-Shot, and Jet. Or, you know, if you fancy Buckets, you can use Machine for the Stingray. Or if you wanted to use other armor weapons like Junior, for example, you could, because it get armor pretty quick. You get about like a 30-second armor. So those just dominated the meta. And Armor was so egregious at this time. It was just absolutely just weapon mitigating, and weapons just wouldn't exist because of Armor. So Armor would just make a lot of things not be good anymore. You have Chargers who couldn't one-shot anybody because of Armor. You could literally sit there and just try and snipe multiple people and not get a kill. I have my friend who has a Twitter video, and I was like, hey, as a backliner, how did Armor make you feel in S2? He sent me his tweet and said, this should explain everything. And I will play it for you right now. So as you can see, my friend tried to snipe 3 separate people. Beautiful E-liter gameplay, fantastic E-liter gameplay, should have been a triple kill, but nope, because of Armor, it's gone. And as a Bucket player, Armor was absolutely annoying to me because I couldn't just walk up and just 2-tap people. I had to 3-tap people. With Tri-Slosh, it was a little bit easier because I used Burst Bomb to get rid of their armor and then 2-tap them, but that also required me having enough time after they were aware that I was trying to get rid of them and send them to go see Jesus Christ if they didn't kill me, which sometimes they wouldn't, sometimes they would. So it was super hard. A lot of my good gameplay in tournaments came from me using K-Gal because it was so much easier to use K-Gal and wall out people and use Booyah Bomb than for me to use Buckets. So yeah, Armor was like, if you don't have a shooter weapon with Object Shredder, you're not doing much, my guy. Future Yump here, I forgot to mention the fact that also people would slow down the game purposefully. Like, if people saw Armor was popped, they'd be like, oh, wait, don't engage. So with K-Gal, you would wall out so people would pop Armor, you throw a wall up, and oh, okay, I'm not fighting, or people would recede backwards and just keep away from Armor until the timer ran out. So you had two options: either slow down the pace of the game and not engage, which made the games very boring and mundane, or you have a build specifically built for to shred Armor, and you would just shoot and pray you hit the Armor if you had the range for it. So it was just very lackluster gameplay that Armor would basically reinforce, and why it's very just an unhealthy super. You're pretty much gone, G. And that's what people would run. You would run a lot of Object Shredder. That's basically what you would run on shoes. If you're not running Stealth Jump, you're probably running Object Shredder on your shooter to just try and mow down people's armors, especially with multi-hit shooters. So it was very unhealthy, and it just felt like you were forced to run certain abilities. And also, as an Armor player, well, I hope I have Armor on my team, or we're absolutely screwed. So if you were unlucky enough to go into solo queue and you queued up with the one roller main and the one V-slosher main and the, oh, look at them, they're playing heavy deco, oh, that's cool. And then you're like, well, I'm just here with my arrow spray, and they got NZAP and K-Gal and solo queue, and you're like, well, I'm about to lose 30 points at X rank. That's cool. That's great. I'm about to get wiped off the map, baby. And that's pretty much how it was with Armor, and that's why Armor should never come back into this game. I don't see a world you rework Armor into it being good. I don't care if it's, oh, well, if you swim up next to your friends and you swim up next to people. No, Cat Cooler, way better, much more healthier for the game, because it does that, but also people can still die. They just come back. Cat Cool is so much healthier, a better version of Armor than just, oh, well, you get a free hit and E-leaders and backlines and other weapons just become useless. So next is Stingray. And Stingray, basically, you could jump back to base and be super safe with this weapon. They could not touch you if you jump back to base, and you would Stingray them. Objectives doesn't even matter. That tower, theirs now. That Stingray is just sitting on tower, just blasting it. Longer than a Booyah Bomb lasts, longer than Ink Strikes last as well. So that tower is being pressured for a good solid like 10 to 15 seconds, not just by Stingray, but now the enemy team. And if you're playing in opens and comp, they can tell their team where you're at, so they can keep applying pressure to you and your entire team, and the enemy team that you're playing against now has your location. They now have information. It is more of a disruptor than missiles, because now you have to factor in every single little thing that Stingray has just offered the enemy team. Missiles is, oh, that's where they're at, but they can scatter, and you can scatter to a better spot and not have to deal with it. And also, it stops the objective. So basically, you can still focus on objective in some form of way. Like if you're playing zones, missiles hit you, oh, I just leave, don't have to worry about it, objective's fine. I can still paint the objective while missiles are on me. If Stingray is on you, you are dead. You're not painting the zone while Stingray's on you. And Stingray would absolutely decimate Rainmaker and Tower so hard. Those game modes would just be like, oh, I don't want to play those. I'm avoiding those because Stingray's going to ruin it. And Stingray can still ruin clams and zones as well by, again, providing the information that it needs for your teams in opens. Opens is going to be so sweaty if Stingray was in the game. So, yeah, I don't want that. I don't want sweaty zones and clams. It's already sweaty enough with how people play. I don't want that in my game. And with clams, you can pressure people. You can see where the clam's at, and everyone could just collapse. Stingray, bam, dead, clam, gone. And it's like, you can make it so they can't even approach. With clams, if missiles located on you, you can still approach and move around missiles, and that's kind of a disruptor. With Stingray, you're done if you have clams. That Stingray is on you, you are dead. It doesn't matter where you are on the map compared to missiles. So that's why missiles is still healthier than Stingray, because missiles have a lot you can do against them. You can just, you can still paint while they're coming down. You have some time before they hit, and you can maneuver around them. Stingray is, I see you, you are dead, goodbye. currently right now there's only 4 weapons with missiles. All it would take is 1 weapon with the shooter, and that would basically mean missiles would come back into the meta because of Stingray. If Stingray comes back into the game, I wouldn't be surprised if there's more Splatana Wipers and more Flingses, just to have missiles to deal with Stingray. Even Reflux, I wouldn't be surprised if that comes in just to deal with Stingray, because Stingray would be so safe to just jump back to base and get free kills and free objective takes with its power. And then again, if Stingray comes in and then they introduce a shooter with missiles, that shooter is instantly meta because it's going to paint for missiles and focus on Stingray. And it's also a shooter, so that makes it really good as well. So yeah, missiles and Stingray would just dominate the meta if Stingray came back in its former shape from S2. Now, Stingray, I feel, can be reworked to be healthier for the game. I don't know if this is something that would be worth it or not, but Stingray in the game, if it was to come back, it needs to be reworked. So this is my idea for it. With Stingray, you pull it out, it has a line. Like a line that the enemies and your allies can see. Just wherever you're at, you're stationary right there, the line goes off. And it shoots a mega blast across the map. You just choose where it goes. It's not the whole map though. It's in a certain large radius. It just shoots a long beam. Maybe about 5 or 6 meters long. So you can cover a decent portion of the map. It shoots one long beam, and it has different radiuses. If you're in a certain radius, it does a lot of damage and you'll be super weak. And if you're in a certain radius, it's damage over time where you have a chance to get out, but if you're not prepared for it, you're going to die. And then just a direct beam where you're just going to instantly die if you get hit by it. So I feel like something like that, working around that could be good for Stingray. I would think that would be a fine special, because it's like, oh, I gotta, protect objective, take objective, bam, done, 3 seconds. That's it. 3 or 4 seconds. People see the beam, they can move out of the way. The enemy team can approach on their objectives, capitalize off of that beam, and then boom, you can go back, retaliate with a Booyah Bomb, Tri-Strike, whatever you want to do, okay? And because this special is stationary and takes, maybe 3 to 4 seconds to charge up, if you see that person wants their special, you can cancel that special. You can see them, boom, they're done, gone. So that way there's counterplay to it, and they can't, and again, because of the length of this super, it's not like they can just jump back and just boom, across map, doesn't matter, boom, it's dead. And the only way I would want to see Stingray come back as well, if they don't rework it to something healthy, is Salmon Run. It can belong in Salmon Run. Why can it belong in Salmon Run? Because Salmon Run, kind of hard. It's really hard, especially for newer players, and with higher hazards. Stingray would be super useful for stingers and flyfish that are by the shore, and it's super hard to get them. Stinger would be fantastic for Salmon Run. Sadly, I feel like if it's in Salmon Run, it's going to have to be in PvP. So yeah, I don't think we're getting Stingray back for just Salmon Run specifically. I'm sorry, Salmon Runners. It's a sad day, but those are my thoughts on Stingray and Armor, why they should not be back in the game and they should never come back unless Stingray is reworked and Armor just doesn't need to come back because we have Cat Cooler. I never want to see those specials again. Please, God, never again. And I will see you in the next video. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I hope you have a great day. Take care. Bye. Peace.